Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today we're going to take a quick look at one of the Civivi knives. This is a first impression video. A couple things I'll point out along the way that are going to be maybe a little more detailed, only because, you know, I've spent a little bit of extra time with this. I've had it for about a day and a half now, rather than normally when I do a first impressions video, I may have only had the knife for a few hours. So I took it out of the box. The box is sitting on a shelf at home where I keep all my knife boxes, but it does come in this nice pouch, which I will say is a pretty nice touch, especially for the price point. In here, we've got a microfiber cloth. It comes in a little bag, but I've already taken it out of there. And there's a little instruction manual telling you basically that knives are sharp. If you haven't figured that out by now, you shouldn't be buying a knife. And probably if you've figured out how to order something online, you've also figured out how not to cut yourself with said item. Okay, so here is the knife itself. This is the Praxis model. They're one of 3 that I know of. And this one was the most interesting to me. I like the blade shape, I like the look of this handle, and of course it's got a finger choil out here, which I am generally a fan of, and I am a fan of it on this particular knife. Let me give you a quick rundown here, and then I'll touch on a couple of quick details. I don't want to go too crazy because number 1, I haven't spent enough time with this. Number 2, this is not a full review. It's just a first impressions. But let's go ahead and give a quick rundown. We have a blade here of 9CR18 MOV steel with a satin finish. Very, very thinly ground, flat grind here. Bit of a swedge on top. The blade stock itself is pretty thin, so when you combine that thin stock with a fairly thin grind, this is a very, very slicey knife. I've only done a little bit of cutting with it, but it really does, you know, move through material very cleanly. We do have a bearing pivot here with a flipper, and it does work pretty well, although out of box, this had a little bit of side-to-side play, and I had to just tighten it a touch. By the way, I will mention this. This is probably the only detail I'm going to really talk about. This is rightly for a review, but if you look at the Torx heads here, they are really, really well done. They're all T8. Well, all the structural components are T8. The T6s here are just holding on the pocket clip. So I've got to give some credit for that. I love the fact that they've gone to T8s. It makes this knife so much easier to deal with. And on a knife with bearings, it's important that we can take it apart. And we've had that discussion lots of times before. All right, so let's move on to the handle. G10 handle with stainless steel liners. These ones happen to be in gold, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. Honestly, when I ordered the picture was like this, okay? So I couldn't really see the gold and I didn't clue in exactly. A few days after I placed the order, I took a closer look, as we're prone to do, and I noticed that it had gold liners, and I was like, well, I guess we're going with the gold liners. And honestly, it's not that bad because they're not super, super noticeable. Back here, we have a G10 backspacer. And I want to say one other thing here by way of detail. Everything on this has been really cleaned up and rounded. And I have to give a lot of credit for that, especially at the price point. These two are like 42 bucks. Pocket clip is a nice deep bent over clip, and it is movable to left or right side tip up carry. Okay, so let me grab you some measurements here, guys, so you can get a sense for the size of this knife. I want to point out that I am pretty darn happy with, let's do it this way, I think it'll be easier. I'm pretty darn happy with the overall fit and finish on this. I'm trying to get it in the right spot, but I'm having a hard time. So it's pretty well 8.5 inches on the overall length there. I guess I should center that in the camera so you can see it. There we go. So about 8.5 inches on the overall length. Blade length is just shy of 3 3/4 inches there. You can see, I think there we go. Yeah, just a hair. I guess we can call it 11/16. So 3 11/16 on the blade length. Handle length here is going to be, I like to do this way to be a little more accurate. It's a little more, so we'll call that 4 3/4 basically on the handle. Give you guys a quick measurement for grip area, which is quite substantial, about 3 7/8 inches of grip area you can see there. So even if you've got really big hands, I don't think you're going to have any problem with this knife whatsoever. If you take a look inside there, you can see that it's been milled out quite substantially. So that, I have to say, is rather impressive. And 4.4 ounces on the weight. So what is my overall take on this knife? Well, I've got to say, you know, WE has really sort of dropped the gauntlet here on the budget knife world. The quality on this is very good, guys. It really is. It's smooth. The lines, you know, if you just look at the details here, my first impression is just that the details are so good, much better than I'm used to seeing on a knife of this price point. You know, we've got this nice bit of contouring on the G10. We've got rounded gold, I know, gold stainless steel liners. There's a lot of attention to detail here that is beyond what I would ever expect for 42 bucks, guys. Really, really good. I don't know, this is pretty darn impressive. I know a number of you have asked about the steel. I will have a full discussion of 9CR18 MOV steel in my full review of this. So we'll have that conversation. I promise you, get to know my thoughts. Honestly, my initial impression, again, is that it's a pretty decent steel for the price point, especially if you start doing some comparison shopping. You know, yeah, there's some D2 models out there like the Rat Model 1 or the Bird Raven 2 in BD1, which are both pretty outstanding examples of good steel for a budget price. But outside of those examples, you're looking at a lot of other Chinese alphabet steel competitors, and I suppose we would probably submit that 9CR18 MOV, they've chosen that because it's a little superior to the other steels that are out there. Well, you know, when we talk about this, comparing it to 440C and 8CR13 MOV and a few others, OS 8, you know, are we really going to notice that big of a difference? And I would submit probably not. As I say, more to come on that in the full review. So at this point, I think, you know, if you like a larger EDC knife, if you like a really, really thinly ground, slicey blade, if you like something that's really comfortable in hand and with action that is rather nice, the one, I suppose, detractor from this as a day-to-day EDC knife is if your needs, you know, if your carry situation involves a lot of dirt and grime and gunk and dust and crap like that, there is the issue of bearings and the fact that they're going to get gummed up. But otherwise, man, this is a pretty impressive example of a really exceptionally well done level of quality for $42. One last point that I have to notice here is look at the blade here. It's just so clean. The whole knife overall is very, very clean. There's not, you know, Civivi marked up all over it. And even, you know, for WE, remember, we're talking about WE knives here. Normally, you see the WE logo in a bunch of places on their knives, but nothing here. So I've got to give some credit for that as well. That's my initial take. You know, I'm fairly impressed, but it's early days. So give me a little bit of time to play with this. Give me a little bit of time to carry it and cut with it and kind of get a feel for it. And I will have further thoughts for you in the not too distant future. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.